Yeah. Blackjack. Life is like a game of cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Yeah. Blackjack. To play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
What up, guys? Welcome back. It's your boy DELRAY Richardson, platinum songwriter, platinum artist, StraightGameTV. Thank you for hitting the play button. Click the subscribe button, the bell notification, so you can be first in being notified when I come with some of this straight game. I'm gonna get right into it. Posed another question I think is very valid and a very worthy question. And the question is, do you think that Tupac, if he hadn't died in Vegas, was he going back to jail? And the short answer to that question is absolutely, positively yes. And you said, well, how could you say that? You know what I mean? Because, you know, it's not how can I say it. These are the facts. The fact of the matter is, if you look and what happened to Suge, when the situation went down in Vegas and it was on camera, Suge's probation officer, as well as the prosecutor in the case that he was on probation for, called that case back before a judge. And basically, Suge was sentenced to 9 years in prison for a violation of probation charge. Now, just like Suge, Tupac was on probation. Tupac was on probation in a couple of different states for a couple of different incidents. The notable one is this: when Tupac got out of prison on the appeal bond, in which Interscope had paid the bond, Tupac basically had violated his probation while he was out on appeal bond. The reason why that didn't affect his situation was because that case happened somewhere around the same time, though they did try to get him violated for the probation in dealing with that case, because he didn't do his community service work, which he was supposed to clean up trash like on the freeway. And so basically Judge Abraham Khan, he had gave Tupac until June 7th, 1996 to surrender, to serve his sentence imposed because he had failed to serve with a freeway cleanup crew for 15 days as part of the community service portion of his probation. The judge also fined him $1,000. Now listen to this. So basically they were trying to violate him. And the deputy city attorney, Sandra Jo Streeter, she was basically arguing that Tupac should go to jail. She said he had also violated probation with convictions in Michigan and New York on charges of assault and battery and other charges. So now, understand, this is after he's out of jail. So he had still been on probation for other situations, and they were trying to violate him for that unsuccessfully. What happened was they went back into court, and the judge showed some leniency. I don't know what they told him the situation was, because Tupac had a lot of things going on at that particular time, shooting films and so on and so forth. So they might have said that, and the judge might have agreed. And but they got that the 120 days that the judge had ordered Tupac serve in that case, they got that deferred. So that was a deferment of the sentence involving that. So now, here we go, the Vegas situation. So now we seen what happened to Suge, and Tupac was going to face that same fate. It was too much of a high profile situation. And I think what escalated it for Suge was the fact that Tupac had got killed and had got shot in Vegas. But that situation alone basically would have made the mainstream media, and involving Tupac at the time, you know, that was one of those things before there was clickbait or, you know, any type of thing like that dealing with social media. The media would have definitely picked up on that, and Tupac would have been violated. Yeah, the prosecutor and the prosecution in the case in New York, and, you know, they basically were fighting, you know, Tupac from even trying to get out on bail. Remember when Tupac went to court, after he got sentenced in New York for that situation, he asked for it to be immediately asked for it to be released on appeal bond, and the judge denied it. And so the whole time that he was basically trying to get out on appeal, they were fighting him getting out on appeal. And so he eventually did that. So I know for a fact that with that situation involving the Vegas incident, that they were going to go and try to revoke his appeal bond. And that was the reason why, you seen some of the stuff that happened that they, because Tupac, he was volatile, and there were a couple other incidents. Tupac also had been facing some charges in L.A. Of being a convicted felon in charge of a gun. So it was a lot of situations where, you had to go to court for that. And once you go court for that, if he's convicted, your bond is revoked, all of that. And so that's alleviating the Vegas situation. But the Vegas situation was, I think the thing that would have really sent him back. But then you had the gun charge too. So yeah, it was something, man. You had to really understand what that was and how much of a volatile time that was. And like I said, Tupac was just wow, man. He was a wild dude. Let's say, for instance, the situation involving Sam Snead when he got beat up real bad. And basically they said Tupac was involved with that also, basically trying to prove a point or whatever. You know what I mean? Because Sam Snead didn't do anything to Tupac, from my understanding. I think he wanted to leave. The fact was he wanted to leave Death Row when Dr. Dre left, because Sam Snead came in under Dr. Dre's umbrella involving that. And like I said, they conjured up some kind of reason or some situation about New York people being in the video and so on and so forth. But the real reason was because Sam Snead was close to Dr. Dre and he wanted to leave when Dre left. And so that incident, if Sam Snead felt like he wanted to press charges, Tupac 9 times out of 10 probably would have been violated. You know what I mean? So there was a lot of instances, or should I say situations, that he was involved in that he really didn't need to be involved in. And so you go back to New York. The situation in New York, you see every time that Tupac had got involved with something, it always ended like, the situation in New York, and which wasn't cool or nothing. I don't agree with that. You know what I mean? But for whatever it was and whatever was exchanged between him, Jimmy Henchman, Haitian Jack, or any of those guys that he had been hanging around with, once again, he was out of his league. More importantly, these guys were real street dudes. You know what I mean? They played, they were about that life, And so in that situation, it ended kind of bad. You know what I mean? But Tupac, being the soldier and the strong guy that he is, he bounced back. You know what I mean? And that's who he was. He was a resilient individual. And then you go to now you out on bail. Now you with Death Row. You know what I mean? And once again, not exercising restraint. Here you are in Vegas, and you move on somebody that you don't really know, wasn't your fight. And once again, we see how the situation ended up. But to the answer to the question that was posed, do I think that he would have went back to prison? Absolutely. Like I said, they were trying to send him to prison after he had got out on the appeal bond, and trying to give him that in 120 days. But luckily, he had got that deferred. And so I know for a fact that had he lived, they were going to violate him. They were going to violate. It was just too much. I mean, you just got it in June. You just got a sentence deferred. You know what I mean? The judge showed leniency, and here you are. In September, you involved in a whole nother incident. At a major world-renowned casino in Las Vegas. And so, like I said, yeah, they didn't want him out of jail to begin with. Like I said, he had dealt with that situation, and it came through that. And like I said, here you go again, and Warner Brothers and Interscope had put up the $1.4 million for you to get out. Their hands were tied, and most people were like, well, Interscope left him hanging. No, they didn't. They bailed that man out. You know what I mean? If you leaving somebody hanging, you ain't putting up $1.4 million to bail them out. And like I said, so yes, absolutely, Tupac would have been violated, and he was going back to prison had he lived. Your boy DELRAY, Straight Game.